So Cody and I just recently did a trip on the coast of Oregon, and we road tripped, and we wanted to do something a little bit different this time than our previous trips and try something a little bit different. So we actually tried this app called Outdoorsy and rented a van to do our road tripping in Oregon. So I'm just gonna do a little review about our experience with Outdoorsy because there's not a ton of information out there, and we were really skeptical when we were deciding if we wanted to use Outdoorsy. So Outdoorsy is like Airbnb, but for your own RVs and vans and outdoor vehicles. So you have the opportunity to be somebody who rents out their own RVs and their own vehicles, or you can rent from somebody else. So Cody actually found Outdoorsy just by doing a Google search about like, where can I rent a van? And that's how he found Outdoorsy. There are a couple of other options. I don't remember their names, but Outdoorsy seems to be the most popular. So that's the one that we went with. So Outdoorsy does have an app. So that's essentially what we used the whole time was the app. And like I was saying, it's really similar to Airbnb. So you just download the app and then you can put in like where you want to go, or even the type of rig that you're looking for, or the price that you're looking for, and you can search through all different kinds of RVs or vans that are available in that area, and you can click on them and there's more details about them and whatnot, so you can really make a decision on which one you want to use. We ended up choosing the van that we chose because number one, and this was most important to us, it had unlimited miles. A lot of the vehicles have a certain amount of miles that you have to stay under for per day. So for example, maybe you can only drive that van 75 miles a day. And for our trip in Oregon, that just wasn't gonna work because we weren't sure how many miles we were gonna drive in a day, and we were also going to do a lot of driving, and it can get really expensive if you drive more than the number of miles that is allowed. It was also really reasonable because it was an older vehicle, and so we didn't go with one of the really new souped up vans. We actually went with I think it was like a 2006 Ford Transit or something, but it was an older van. So our van had a really responsive host. So you really want to make sure that the communication between yourself and whoever you're renting from is really good, and whoever owned the van that we rented was really responsive and they answered our questions really quickly, and that was really important because I was a little worried about what if something happens and we can't get a hold of who owns our van. The van that we chose had all of the amenities that we were looking for. Because you're renting somebody's personalized vehicle, sometimes they only have a bed, or they have a bed and maybe like a small kitchen setup, but they don't have electricity, don't have water usage. The van that we ended up choosing had everything that we needed. So it had the bed, it had a small kitchen setup with a sink that we could actually use, and it had electricity and a heater as well, which we didn't end up using the heater. We didn't have to, but it was nice that it was there. So yeah, this is our Outdoorsy van. So I'm just gonna give a quick little tour. Okay, so I'm already in the van. It's a Ford Transit. It's pretty old and it has some cute qualities to it. This is the first thing we noticed. So this window is actually broken. It's like duct taped together. It's kind of funny, but yeah, somebody's van. There's Cody. Hey.
Hi.
I'm doing a tour.
Okay.
Are you good?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, let me finish my tour. Okay, so this is a front seat, only seats 2 people, so that works good for us for right now. Up here they've got some storage This one is actually tied down, which is good. Everything in your van needs to be tied down, but this one was not tied down. The stuff that was up here fell on my head. Anyways, they've got some other storage. This all came with our van, some soap and some other necessities. There's coffee over here, some batteries, some more soap. This stuff has been staying out as is and has not fallen, so that's been good. But okay, on this side, they've got, this is behind the driver's seat, they have just a trash can that was already here, and then they built all this cabinetry. It's all tied down, as you can see, just when you're driving so things don't go flying out of it. But there's a lot of utensils and kitchen necessities here. This is a induction stovetop, which has worked really good. Kody's made coffee, we've made some soup and stuff. We haven't done a ton of cooking in the van. It's just not a necessity for us this time, but it is really cool that it's here. This is some other necessities that came with the van. As you can see, there's windows with little window coverings. We open these during the day and we close them at night. Behind the passenger seat, the van came with a cooler. We bought some water. Those are my snacks. And then they built out this side of cabinetry as well. There is water down here, the water that pumps to the sink. So it is a usable sink, but we've not really needed this either. But it is very cool that it's here. So you can do a lot of cooking in this van. We just chose not to this time. So let me get some video of how this van actually looks. It's really cool in here. It's very pretty. It's a log cabin feel. They really put a lot of thought into it. The bed is actually pulled out currently because we haven't put it back. These back cushions back here, this can just be pushed back and it turns into a couch, and then you have more seating and storage here. We don't care about a couch, and we also like to have use of the back windows, so we have just left it out as a bed this entire time, and that's worked fine for us. We don't spend a ton of time in the van except to sleep, so we're good on that. We threw a bunch of our clothes and our shoes just down there, and it is kind of hard to get to, but it is what it is for right now. More windows all across. This is the light switch. It's really cool. And then those back doors do actually open as well, so you can access the space under here, or if you like to sleep with the door open or nap with the door open so you can see the scenery. That's a really cool feature there. They have some shelving on this side. On that side, you can't see it, but there is access to the heater. We've also not needed the heater at all, but if we did, there is one in this van. They also have fans on the ceiling, which has been really cool. We've used those at night just to get some airflow and some circulation in here. And then there's outlets also. The main one we've been using is actually under there, but there are outlets and there is electricity in here. So we're able to charge our phones, charge our cameras and our Apple Watches and anything else we need really easily and from anywhere. And like I said, we've been jumping from park to park to park, so it's really cool that we can just have everything with us every single day, and super easy to just like get up, get dressed, sit in the front seat, turn on the car and go, and then we can go to our next location. So that is a little van tour of our van that we rented from Outdoorsy. And yeah, after selecting the vehicle that you want to use, obviously you go through the whole payment process, and sometimes you can choose add-ons that you want on your van, but you for sure have to purchase insurance, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, because that was kind of a negative aspect to Outdoorsy. So like I was saying, we did this for our trip in Oregon. So we actually flew to Oregon and then had to drive to the location of our van to pick it up. And then we had the van for the week and we had to drop it off back where we picked it up at the end of the week. So we honestly didn't have a ton of expectations just because we'd never done this before, but I have rented rooms and places on Airbnb, and I have also rented a car off of Turo. So I kind of had some expectation and thought it would be really similar to that process. When we arrived to our van, I was a little shocked to see that it was actually kind of dirty. So the outside was dirty as well as the inside, and it didn't really feel like somebody had gone in there between the previous people and us. It didn't feel like it had been cleaned all that well, which is not really a big deal if you really think about it, because you're renting camper vans and you're renting outdoor vehicles, so they do have a tendency to get dirtier. And so you just kind of have to rough it out a little bit, and that's just what we did. The gas tank wasn't full, so we did have to go and get gas first thing. And that's not really specified in the listing whether or not the van is gonna come with a full tank of gas. So maybe for the next time, that might be a question we ask our host. Oh my gosh, Mingo. She took a Christmas tree off of my Christmas Village display and she chewed it all up. And I don't feel like chasing her right now because she's under the bed. Overall, we do feel like the van fulfilled the needs of our trip. Like, we were very happy with the decision to rent a camper van versus renting just a regular rental car and having like a hotel room every single night. It just provided us a lot more flexibility, and we could just get up and go and drive, and wherever we ended for the night is where we ended for the night, and we didn't have to be one place or another place. So we really liked it overall. I will say, I mentioned previously that our van was a little bit older, and so there definitely were areas of this vehicle that were kind of jerry-rigged together, and like, for example, Cody's window couldn't open and it was like duct taped closed. So that was kind of funny. You just never really know what you're gonna get. I will also mention that there is definitely a learning curve to using somebody's rigged out van. We didn't know how to use the water system or the electricity for a minute there, and luckily our van came with instructions that were posted everywhere, but not all of them come like that. So definitely a learning curve in the beginning when you're trying to use somebody's van. But that just goes back to what I was saying. Ask a lot of questions and make sure you really understand how to use the van prior to leaving the location, and you're set and you're good to go. My last thought about our expectations is just that van life is actually kind of hard. I don't know how people do it full time. We did it for a week. By the end of the week, I was tired of the instability of it all. It was fun and it was great for our road trip purposes, but doing it long term, I don't think that I could do that long term. So something that I mentioned prior was the insurance. And I did want to take the time to mention this because I think that this is the number one thing that people talk about negatively towards Outdoorsy. And Outdoorsy does make you purchase their insurance to be able to use any of the vehicles on Outdoorsy. So when you're going through the checkout process, obviously you have the cost of the van per night. Sometimes you might have extra mileage costs, and then you have to purchase insurance on top of that, and it can get pretty expensive. I don't know if it depends on how long your trip is, but I think the base insurance was like $200 for us for the week, for 5 days. We went with the like mid-grade insurance. I don't really know why. There's a little bit extra protection there, but I think we just wanted to play it on the safe side. So we went with like the mid-grade insurance, and that was like another $400 added to our trip. So it does cost quite a bit of money. I know that there are a lot of people who rent out their vehicles on Outdoorsy that say that the Outdoorsy insurance is not very good. So if something were to happen, you may or may not be covered. So my only advice to that is, number one, realize that you're driving somebody else's vehicle, so drive safe. And if you've never driven a larger vehicle, drive extra safe. Some of these rigs are really big and people might not be used to driving them. So also, before you leave on your trip, it might be a really good idea to just call your own personal insurance and make sure that if something, God forbid, were to happen, you're gonna be covered, you're gonna be okay with your own insurance. I wanna say for 5 days with the insurance, the van, we ended up spending about $1,500 for our van rental. And like I said, this was an older vehicle, so this is on the cheaper side. They can get really expensive. But I will say $1,500, I think for our trip was pretty reasonable, and I was definitely okay paying that much. And I think it was worth the total cost when you consider if we hadn't used the camper van, we would have still needed to purchase a rental vehicle as well as had hotel nights every night, and that adds up too, and it probably would have been pretty comparable. So it's really just going to be up to your trip, how long your trip is, how much road tripping and ground you need to cover, as well as the rig that you choose. So we weren't purchasing hotel rooms every night, but we were purchasing campsites and RV sites, and those are much cheaper than a hotel room would be, but it is still a cost that you have to think about. I think our most expensive night was probably like $50 or $60, and our cheapest was like $20. So it really just depends on which campsites you're choosing as well. One thing you definitely don't want to forget also when it comes to costing out your trip and deciding if Outdoorsy is worth it for your trip financially is the cost of gas. These vehicles take more gas and need more gas, and gas is expensive. Depending on where you are, it can be very, very expensive. That's something you need to think about as well. We probably filled up maybe like once a day. We tried to fill up. I never wanted the gas tank to get too low just in case we ended up stranded somewhere or something. But these larger vehicles do use more gas, so definitely consider that as a factor when you're trying to decide if this is going to be worth it for your trip. I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, we would definitely do this again. We didn't have any problems using the Outdoorsy app or the Outdoorsy website. We didn't have any problems with our host, and we didn't have any major problems with our van. It all worked. We didn't have any mechanical issues. We were able to do exactly what we needed to do, and for our particular road trip up the Oregon coast, it was perfect and it worked out perfectly. And I just don't think that it would have been realistic for us to have hotel rooms every night and a rental car. I think our trip was more flexible than that because we had a camper van. We really just wanted to experience what it would be like to travel like that in a van and sleep in a van. We were excited to try that for the first time. We'd never done anything like that. Truly, at the end of the day, whether or not this is going to be something you want to do, you're going to have to consider, am I okay with moving about everywhere? You're going to have to consider, am I okay with being on the go? Is that what my trip calls for? Am I okay with being at campsites every night? Do I need a 5-star hotel every night, or am I okay just sleeping in a car or an RV and showering in camp restrooms? For us, we had a great time on our trip. We loved the flexibility and we liked our van. We were sad when we were saying goodbye to it, and we were like, we should do this. We should build out our own van. We're never gonna do that. It's too hard. It was a really cool experience. I definitely recommend Outdoorsy. I know a couple of other people that have used Outdoorsy and rented RVs and have also not had any trouble at all. Overall, it was a really positive experience and we would do it again. If you think you want to try van life for a little bit, maybe on your next road trip, definitely consider Outdoorsy. Super easy app, super easy website. At least go look and see the different kinds of rigs you can get, and you never know, it might be a whole nother experience that you absolutely love and want to continue doing. So anyways, that's my review of Outdoorsy. I hope you found it informative, and thanks for watching.